Hello everyone, and welcome to the video lecture series of Mobile Application Development. Students, in our previous session, we have seen that how can we implement a static broadcast receiver. Now, it's time to learn how can we go with dynamic broadcast receiver. Welcome students, this is your instructor Janice Shah. So let's begin to understand that how can we implement dynamic broadcast receiver. See, the dynamic broadcast receiver in Android can be implemented like this. See, this is an intent filter. Filter is equal to new intent filter, connectivity manager dot connectivity action, register receiver, example of broadcast receiver, comma, filter. This is how students we can register our broadcast receiver dynamically. As you know, in static broadcast receiver, we need to register our broadcast receiver inside the Android manifest file. But in dynamic method, we need to register it inside the class by using the method intent filter new filter. This is a method which is going to be used to create the filter action, and this is a method register receiver which is going to be used to register the receiver. Now, get it done. Register in the main activity.java file. Next, so what to do in the Android manifest file? As I told you that there is no action needed to be performed inside the Android manifest file. So students, your Android manifest file remains as it is. Next, so what do we need to do, sir? See, same as the previous one, here you also need to make a class for the broadcast receiver that should extend broadcast receiver class. So students, here I am going to create a class with the name example broadcast receiver, and that extends broadcast receiver as a main class. Now, what happens if I extend the broadcast receiver? Students, if you are going to extend the broadcast receiver, then you need to override a method which is known as onReceive. OnReceive is a method which is by default inside the broadcast receiver class, which is called whenever some action performed and the receiver need to be come out and receive the particular action. That's why the onReceive method is called. So here inside this, I need to use the connectivity manager dot connectivity underscore action dot equals intent dot get action. Now, this intent is an object dot get action. Now, if it is true, then here I need to get the boolean no connectivity is equal to intent dot get boolean extra connectivity manager dot extra no connectivity. By default, the value is false. So here I am going to create a boolean variable which is by default value is false. Now, if the no connectivity, that means its value is false, then you should write like no connectivity, and otherwise it should return you the connected. So students, this is how we can get the idea about the connectivity in Android. So whenever you try to change your network, students, this particular action is performed. Now it is time to know that how we can register it and implement it inside the main activity.java file. So here it is. See, this is a method which is known as main activity.java. Inside it, you first need to create the object of example broadcast receiver, and then on create method, we just need to keep it as it is. On the below of it, we need to override two different method of activity. Here, I am going to override the onStart method and onStop method of activity. Now, remember, through this or in this particular step, we are going to learn about the background services and the foreground services. See, here in the code, I have written something, but that I'll explain during the coding. That, see, the onStart method and onStop method. You already know that the onStart method is called whenever the activity or the activity page is currently in action. That means you are using the app. Whenever you come out from the app or click on the home button, the onStop method is immediately called. So If you want to implement the foreground services, that means the services that are going to be used during the app in action, then you need to write you need to register a broadcast receiver inside the onStart method. Okay. Now, on the onStop method is called, then you just need to set the unregistered receiver. See, the code to register the receiver is that first you need to create the intent filter and the action. If you remember, inside the static method, we are going to do the same steps but by using the XML code, or I can say the XML tag, which is known as receiver in Android manifest.xml file. And on the inside of the receiver, we are going to implement the particular tag which is known as intent-filter. So students, that is the process of the static receiver. But here we are going to make the dynamic receiver. That's why I am going to use the foreground services and register my broadcast receiver inside the onStart method that is going to be used as whenever you try to open the app or we are in the app. This particular broadcast receiver is called very first time. Clear? So to register it, first I need to create the object of the intent filter. So here it is how I can create the object of intent filter, like intent filter is equal to new intent filter. Inside it, whatever the type of action you want to find out or you want to occur, that you need to pass. Here we are going to pass the basic default action which is known as connectivity manager.connectivity underscore action. Remember, this is already by default action defined in the Android. Okay, so now to register the receiver, we just need to write like this: register receiver, example broadcast receiver, comma, filter. This is the object of example broadcast receiver, and this is nothing but it is the object of filter class. Now, on the onStop method call, we need to just call a method which is known as super.onStop, and to unregister it, we need to call a method which is known as unregister receiver, example broadcast receiver. So by calling the unregistered receiver, students, we can unregister our broadcast receiver from the system. That means its scope get destroyed and it cannot work in the further. Now, next, let's see the practical and let me show you that how it works. So students, here in this practical you can see that the particular Android manifest file.xml file remains as it is. I didn't change anything inside this. Even though I didn't going to change anything inside the activity underscore main.xml file because I do not have any task with my designs. Okay. So first I need to make the class with the name of the example broadcast receiver, same as the previous one, which should extend the broadcast receiver, and override a method which is known as onReceive. The onReceive method contains two different parameters which are known as the context and the intent. I have already passed it over there. Now connectivity manager.connectivityAction.equals intent.getAction. So whenever the intent performs some actions for the connectivity, then this method should call, and by default the boolean variable is no connectivity is false. If it is false, then it shows the no connectivity, and if it is not, then it shows the connected. So students, this is the value of the no connectivity. I set it by the false. So whenever it gets changed, some action performed, it will get here and change the value of the no connectivity. Fine. So this is how we can implement. Now let me show the main activity.java file. I already told you that first we need to create the object of example broadcast receiver. Then on create method, inside that, after it, we need to override two methods which is known as onStop and onStart. Students, the onStart method is called like this. First we need to create the object of intent filter and get the register broadcast receiver register inside like this. Now this is the method which is you need to call is for the unregistered receiver. Now students, what about this? What do we mean by this? See, I have written something over here that if you want to run it in the background, then the register broadcast receiver method you need to write in onCreate, because the onCreate method is called very first time, and unregistered method you should need to write inside the onDestroy. Fine. So This is how, students, you can get the background dynamic broadcast receiver. Now, let me just run the code and show you the output first.
So students, this is a code for the dynamic broadcast receiver. Now just let me run the code. See, the application is currently running. You can able to see the connected, right? I've already told you that in the static broadcast receiver, we are not able to check the connection, but here we can check the connection as well. So see, when I just disconnected, see no connectivity, the toast message is working, right? Once let me just click on the connected and it's now connected. Okay, so our broadcast receiver is working. Now see, the broadcast receiver processes in on start and on stop. Now let me just go out from the application. Again click and change the particular internet connection. Are you able to see this? No. Once again let me just click on the net connection. Are you able to see toast message? No, right? Why this is happening? Because it is in on start and on stop. Now if you wish, then I can change the code inside the on stop and wait a minute. Okay, so let me just override the two different methods over here, right? So it should be like override on create is there. Okay, so I just need to write like on destroy. Okay, so I have just overridden on destroy method here. Let me just make it in a comment, and this intent filter, this particular code for the intent filter, let me just copy it from here and paste it inside the on create method. So I have just registered, see, in on create. Okay, now inside the on stop, let me just unregister it. Okay, so what I did, students, instead of on start and on stop, I have just select on create and on destroy for the registration and unregister my broadcast. Now just let me run the application and let us check that whether it is happening or not. Okay, it is asking me for the terminate the app, so let me just terminate the app. Now you can see that the data is no connectivity. Okay, and once again, so it is connected. Now let me just go out from the app. Now let me just click on this. See, you can see the no connectivity, right? And here it is connected. So students, if you want to run this broadcast receiver once again in the background, then you can write like this as well. Just put your methods in on create and on destroy. Fine. So that's all about the broadcast receiver dynamic example.
So, students, in this session, we have seen that how can we create the dynamic broadcast receiver and what is the importance of registering the broadcast receiver inside the onStart method and onCreate method. In the next lecture, we are going to learn that how can we create the custom broadcast receiver. Till that, if you have any doubt in the broadcast receiver session, then please feel free to ask me. Thank you so much.